Happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome to another episode of China Update, where we discuss leading political, economic, and geostrategic analysis on the world's number 2 economy. My name is Tony. Let's jump in. And first up, we begin with a serious geopolitical flashpoint, which we've been following very closely for years now. Tensions in the South China Sea flared again this week after Chinese Coast Guard vessels attacked a Philippine government ship with water cannons near Scarborough Shoal, injuring one sailor and causing extensive damage. The incident took place on yesterday morning, just 6 days after Beijing declared Scarborough Shoal, known in China as Huangyandao, a national nature reserve, a development we covered last week on the channel. Manila swiftly rejected the designation and filed a diplomatic protest. The shoal is claimed by both countries and has long been a flashpoint in the region. According to the Philippine Coast Guard, the assault unfolded during a government Kadiwa mission, an initiative launched by the president to support Filipino fishermen in contested waters. A Bureau of Fisheries vessel was repeatedly struck by high-pressure water cannons from 2 Chinese Coast Guard ships for nearly 30 minutes. The deluge shattered windows on the bridge, short-circuited electrical systems, and left one crew member injured by flying glass. Confrontation also featured a radio broadcast by the PLA Navy frigate Ma and Shan, which warned of live fire exercises in coordinates east of the shore. The threat sparked panic among more than 35 Filipino fishing boats that had gathered to receive supplies from Philippine government ships. Beijing has rejected Manila's accusations, accusing the Philippines of sending, quote, illegal ships, end quote, into the newly designated nature reserve, and claiming that the Philippine vessel deliberately rammed one of its cutters. Manila dismissed the charge as, quote, disinformation and propaganda, end quote, insisting the collision occurred as a result of Chinese aggression. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio described China's conduct as, quote, yet another coercive move to advance sweeping territorial and maritime claims, end quote. The UK and Australia expressed concern, while Canada denounced the use of environmental protection as a cover for asserting control over disputed waters. Scarborough Shoal, a rich fishing ground 124 nautical miles from the Philippine coast, has been under Chinese control since 2012. The latest incident once again reminds us of the growing risks as Beijing pushes territorial claims over almost the entire South China Sea, despite competing claims from the Philippines and several other Southeast Asian nations. With each one of these incidents, whether it's water cannons, ramming, or the use of weapons, person to person, increases the risk of accident and uncontrollable escalation. Next up, we move to the Chinese economy. China's automotive industry, its car industry, is taking tentative steps toward easing financial strains on its vast supplier base. After months of official pressure to shorten payment cycles, 17 automakers, including BYD, Changan, Chery, GAC, Great Wall, Li Auto, NIO, XPalm Series, Xiaomi Auto, and others, have pledged to settle supplier invoices within 60 days. The move follows a June initiative by the China Association of Automobile Manufacturers, CAAM, backed by the Ministry of Industry and Information Technology, urging car makers to standardize payment terms and reduce liquidity pressures in the supply chain, which has been battered by years of automakers failing to make payment. For years, long settlement cycles left parts makers struggling with cash flow, forcing many to take on expensive financing to stay afloat. As of mid-September, more than a dozen firms had publicly reaffirmed their support for the CAAM's guidelines. According to industry insiders, government departments, associations, and enterprises have held close consultations to ensure smoother implementation and avoid backsliding. The effort also ties into Beijing's broader campaign against so-called involution, or destructive price wars fueled by overcapacity, something we've been following very closely these last several months. In July, Xi Jinping warned against reckless EV expansion and excessive discounting, signaling that industry stability must take precedence over short-term competition. Industry insiders have warned of a bloodbath, with the entire industry on the brink. Analysts and insiders believe up to 90% of the EV industry alone, in terms of the number of players, are likely to collapse in the next 5 years. This is assuming they are not kept alive as zombie corporations by local governments. Car makers have since taken modest steps to reduce aggressive discounting and by stepping up supplier payments to show alignment with official priorities. Yet challenges remain. Automakers themselves face tight margins amid a prolonged EV price battle and intense pressure to invest in new technology. Indeed, China's most successful EV company, BYD, provides a telling case example. BYD is under mounting pressure to restore investor confidence after a $45 billion market rout, as concerns deepen over its ability to withstand China's punishing EV price war. Shares in the company have fallen more than 30% from a record high just 4 months ago, making BYD one of the sector's weakest performers this year. And we remember that BYD represents China's champion EV maker. Analysts have turned increasingly bearish, with sell ratings reaching their highest levels since 2022. Much of the skepticism stems from BYD's strategy of spearheading steep discounts to defend market share, even as Beijing seeks to curb involution. The impact is already visible. BYD posted a 30% drop in second quarter profit, its first decline in more than 3 years. Meanwhile, rivals such as Geely and Leapmotor have gained momentum with fresher product lineups and more measured pricing tactics. The company's annual sales target has also been cut to 4.6 million units from 5.5 million. To achieve even that, BYD must deliver 1.7 million vehicles in the final 4 months of 2025, a steep challenge amid intensifying competition and delayed new model launches. Still, some see longer-term opportunities. Overseas expansion is gathering pace, with Goldman Sachs estimating BYD could sell up to 1 million vehicles abroad in 2025, well above its 800,000 unit goal. Valuations also look attractive, with the stock trading below its 3-year average earning multiple. Quote, BYD must reposition itself as a technology leader rather than just a cost-efficient EV maker, end quote, said Gary Tan of Allspring Global Investments, adding, quote, if it succeeds, investor sentiment could turn quickly, even as near-term earnings remain under pressure, end quote. Stella Li, the executive vice president of BYD, last week said Beijing's crackdown on aggressive discounting could see as many as 100 car makers out of more than 120 being pushed out. She was speaking on the sidelines of the Munich Motor Show. Next up, we have one more development to cover, but just quickly, if you like what I'm doing here with China Update and you'd like to support the channel, liking is a big help, and if you have not done so already, subscribing is also a tremendous help. It is useful for the algorithm. It has been a rough last couple of months with the algorithm. Hopefully the channel will start to pick up in the coming months as we move into the end of the year. It's just me making China Update every day. I have done for years now, so if you'd like to continue to support the channel, liking, sharing, subscribing is a tremendous help. And together we can continue to follow the most up-to-date analysis on China, this incredibly consequential country, as we move into this new uncertain era. Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee links are also in the description for those who want to help keep the channel financially sustainable. Thank you so much, everyone, for the incredible ongoing support. And finally for today, events now unfolding in the Solomon Islands undermine Beijing's frequent claims that it does not seek to export its governance model or interfere in other countries' internal affairs. Over the past few weeks, Chinese police and officials working alongside local counterparts have been piloting a controversial program that mirrors the Mao-era Fengqiao experience, a grassroots surveillance and control method first launched in the 1960s and revived under Xi Jinping as a tool for, quote, community governance, end quote. The pilot scheme, described as community policing, requires Solomon Islanders to submit fingerprints, palm prints, and household registration details. Participants have been asked to fill out household information cards and provide data that critics warn could be used to monitor political activity and stifle dissent. In exchange, villagers in Fighter 1 near the capital were reportedly given uniforms, briefcases, and other material incentives. Chinese Inspector Lin Jianmu, overseeing the rollout, declared that the initiative will be expanded nationwide to, quote, comprehensively enhance community management capabilities and safety levels, end quote. For Beijing, the program represents an extension of its domestic surveillance apparatus into the Pacific. The Fengqiao experience was originally designed to mobilize citizens to keep watch on one another and denounce class enemies. She has embraced the concept in modernized form, tying it to digital surveillance, data collection, and local-level so-called stability maintenance. In the Solomon Islands, social media posts show Chinese police familiarizing local children with surveillance drones. a telling symbol of how monitoring technology is becoming normalized. The political implications are profound. Opposition figures in the capital have denounced the scheme as an infringement on citizens' rights and potentially illegal under Solomon Islands law. Critics note there was no parliamentary debate, transparency over data storage, or safeguards against misuse. Quote, collecting citizens' biodata may wash in China, but it's way out of order in a democratic country, end quote, wrote one local commentator in the Australia-based The Australian. The controversy comes just as the Solomon Islands prepared to host the Pacific Islands Forum, placing the Prime Minister's government in an awkward position. Meanwhile, revelations of Chinese interference in domestic politics deepens concerns. One opposition MP told reporters that he was excluded from cabinet on direct orders from Beijing's ambassador, who allegedly instructed the Prime Minister to freeze him out. Other MPs have faced similar pressure, including demands to abandon affiliations with the so-called Inter-Parliamentary Alliance on China, an international group of parliamentarians concerned and critical of the People's Republic of China. The developments highlight how China's 2022 security pact with the Solomon Islands has opened the door to deeper influence in the nation's governance, blending surveillance practices with political leverage. Far from a benign policing initiative, the Fengtiao pilot shows Beijing's ambition to project its authoritarian governance model beyond its borders, reshaping the Pacific political landscape in ways that will likely reverberate across the region. Okay, that is today's episode of China Update. Thank you so much everybody for watching. Have a good Wednesday, and I'll see you for the next episode either tomorrow or on Friday.